Oh, okay. So welcome back. If you're coming back, and welcome if it's your first time sharing guidance of all kinds to do with life, whatever is happening to us around, trying to find out what the current energy is in the collective. So now here we have two people having families that always demand their attention no matter what their condition was. These two people have been kept apart for a long time, for decades and probably lifetimes. And their families always demanded their attention no matter what, and it didn't matter that they also had their own desires and wants and needs. They were always made to feel as if their families' wants and desires and needs were more important than themselves. So they sacrificed their comfort for their families. But it is taking a toll of them, and they're realizing this. Both of their families were trying as hard as possible to hold on to them, because they knew if they were to let go of these two people, they would lose the favors that they were used to having with the presence of these two people. Actually, they were not going to lose anything. And they ought to know that they would gain even more if they left them alone to be who they were. Because for a long time they've been made to believe that they can't be themselves. Okay, there is some interference, and I pray to God that I am saved from this kind of interference, and for God to block anyone who is trying to interfere. Because this message, I tried to put it out before, but there was always interference, and then I forgot about it. And this time I said, I have to give it out right now, and there is no more delay. So both these two individuals, each were having very different upbringing and social life from each other. And there is a long distance between these two people. They don't know each other physically in this world, but they feel each other all their lives. Looking at them on the surface, they both had so many different things about them that if someone was to put them just next to each other, you just might go, nah, no, these two have nothing in common. It was like everything of theirs was just the opposite of the other. In looking at their lives, it is two people with miles apart of anything in common between them. I mean, that is the overview on the surface, the looks, when you view these two people. And really, physically, if you look at them, their lifestyle, their dressing, the way they believe, it looks as if they were two very different people. But when you went deeper, the common things they had between them was a lot. It was that they both had big hearts, so full of love and compassion and passion for everything that the Most High had created. They were both respectful of God's creations. They were animal lovers. They loved adventures. They loved meeting new people and new places and learning new things. They both had some similarities when it came to food even. Like they both loved the thought of a sandwich, not minding what time it could be even to eat it. They both loved things that had wisdom behind them. They both loved having a good time with loved ones. They were both family oriented and loved spending time with their families, although sometimes it could get tough when their families, and of course together with that their immediate peers and associates, started demanding more of them in their time than how much they could afford in their time or mental support. They were aware of this, but the way they grew up and the way they had been manipulated to believe just made them always to have their compassion taken advantage of in benefit of other people. It was always other people benefiting from them. It was just like they were made to have a hard time to be able to say no to anything demanded of them. And of course, it became sort of like people pleaser trait that just drained them of all the energy and joy they had within them. And people took advantage of their just soft-heartedness or not wanting to hurt or disappoint anyone. And this has a history behind it from when they were still young. And that's why they ended up being that way. And they were made to believe that they had no other choice but to do just what was being manipulated onto them, making them think that they could not do without their families or friends' demands, because in order to keep peace, they had to do that. All they wanted was peace. Peace for themselves and the world, and peace for their loved ones. They loved so much. Their love was almost like an ending kind of a thing, like they could give and give their love to so many people, and still there would still be more space to love other people. In fact, it's like they have such kind of a love that is enough for the whole world. I mean, all they wanted was just to live life in peace and harmony and love. And can you imagine that people thought that they had the right to use their compassion to their advantage, and most didn't even care much whether they suffered or not, as long as what they wanted was extracted from these two people. And these immediate people who were with them, it was like they were just faring off in their lives well, just because they had their connection to these two people who were so different from each other physically, but also had so many similarities if you looked at them at a close range. Just to be brief, for example, they both lost some dear ones almost at the same age and were really heartbroken for the loss, which happened to affect their whole lives. And that is why they thought they could compensate for the losses by giving into manipulations, because they didn't want to lose more people. They were both married somewhere in their lives, or got tied to people who are not really for them marrying or getting tied at the same year. Both lost their first babies with their spouses. Both had exposure to almost similar languages. They both had more than one relationships before they settled with their partners, whom they thought would be their last one, only to get heartbroken once more when they realized that they were just being used by the people they had chosen, because those people were their lessons, because they had not learned their lessons as yet. Unfortunately, also, they felt trapped in the miserable relationship they had chosen, and there was a run and chase kind of a thing, like running around the merry-go-round. It looks as if it was fun and normal, but no, people don't go about chasing and running away from each other. People need to come to same level to really have a mutual relationship of give and take, not an imbalanced relationship where only one gives and the other takes. And they were made to believe that that was normal and that was all that they deserved. And they are realizing that that is not what they deserved. They know now that was not meant for them. They were emotionally detached from their alleged partners they were in contact with, and both their partners were holding for life onto them even when there was no relationship remaining. They seemed to be tied to whom they had long ago gave up on and released for some time, but the people they were walking away from were refusing to let go, although everything was just obvious that there was no more relationship remaining and there was no going back to the karmic relationships because they had awakened and they were intent to stay away and already closed the cycle. Those partners were lessons to them. But still, and can you imagine that despite all the negatives they keep living and experiencing in their lives, they still kept their love in their hearts still burning. And that is what keeps them going. They kept finding ways to heal and move on. They healed. They are still healing. They were not afraid to go venturing into any new love relationship because they learned to have emotional stability and they trusted that God had someone who was meant for them out there in the world. They knew it for sure that there was someone who would not take their love for granted, and they never stopped searching for that one true love. They knew that it was not just any myth, and that it was not just a narrated thing in fables or fairy tales or just displayed in films. They knew that that one person existed, and all they had to do was just to be the best version of themselves, have self-love, and be just like the person they wanted, and that way God would bring them together one way or the other. And God allowed them to have a strong spiritual bond to each other that always remained intact, even when the people who tried to keep them apart tried to make them give up on their wishful fulfillments. They knew that they would pass all trials and still get what God had promised them. And that was have a partner whom they could be authentic with and feel safe with, whom they trusted with all their heart. And it was time now that they come together because divine timing had come and it was long overdue. They had both faced a lot of trials and tribulations in their life that had caused them to not totally trust people, but despite this, they still knew that when God brought the person who was meant for them, they would be able to gain back that trust that they had lost with other people. It was just a feeling that they knew was true. They both knew that whatever they had gone through was just lessons to be learned, and it had all prepared them for when they met these persons, so that when they came together, they would know the great value of having someone whom they could really trust and love, and know that they could cherish their partner for the rest of their lives without any fear of losing anything, because God is protecting them as long as they did what they were meant to do to get together. They had undergone through a lot of betrayals and a lot of heartbreaks, but each and every time they still held strong to their faith in love. They rose each and every time they fell and did not give in to despair. Isn't it so amazing that despite all the traumas they went through too, that they still had their love and passion still burning deep within them, saving all that for the one they know they were supposed to meet finally. They knew that they had come so far, and they still held their faith to God, knowing that God would bring them together in divine timing when the timing was just right. And they held on to this anticipation of knowing that it might also be a big surprise as to how they would come together with their one. They knew that They were both waiting on the other and just going with the flow as they went about with their lives, having no doubt that they would come together in the most beautiful way ever, because they just knew deep down that that was what God had planned for them. And they were going along according to how God was guiding them, because their faith in God was strong. There was also a lot of commotion and panic with the people they were close to, who thought they knew better for them and always trying to interfere with giving ideas of what they thought they were supposed to do, and trying to distract them with things to keep their mind off their belief of that which they knew would happen, but which also they had no idea as to how it would happen. They just knew that it was meant to be, and people thought they were crazy, and people tried to put in their faces other options to deviate their attention from what they believed God was bestowing on them. But no, they were being guided by God each and every day to still hold faith and do things that would lead them to the one of their heart's desires. And this is something only the one who have been gifted to have can only know. It is just a matter of trusting your instincts and letting go of ego and allowing God to orchestrate His divine plan to unfold in your lives, trusting that all is well with God. Because these two people are being made to believe that there is nothing like such. People are trying to psychologically affect them by trying to doubt their wishes, doubt their dreams. But that's not true. They are both thinking of each other in a very intense way. These two people have such a bond that keeps them together even when they are apart. And this is not anything that is of a joke or anything that is just like a mere imagination. This is divine plan of the Most High, always unfolding when the Most High wills it to be. He has to say, be, and it is done. And in such instances, no matter what efforts are done to keep these two people apart, they will all go in vain, because there is nothing stopping God's plan. These two people have been kept apart for a long time, and for so many lifetimes these two people's story had been repeating over and over again. But this time it was high time that the repetition came to an end. People who did the hideous acts to keep two people away from each other have to understand that everything that has a beginning has an end, and the end of their treachery has finally come, and they are to surrender to God. Because this cannot go on. Everyone needs to understand that surrender to God means living life in peace and harmony, and doing otherwise is just calling for mishaps into their lives. Those who keep holding on to bad habits of not wanting to let go of whatever they are holding on to just because they think it wasn't fair have to understand that no matter what they did, they will not win. They will always lose. And these two people will eventually get to their persons, and no one can stop that. People need to let go and let God, and allow people to live their lives in the way they are meant to be living, and that is how balance is created in life. And for that, I hope that helps someone. Have faith, be strong, be resilient. Be consistent in whatever you are doing, which God is guiding you to be doing. And you will surely get to your wish fulfillment. So may God allow all of us to be partnered with our right persons always, and may you all live your lives to the fullest. Amen. So till next time, with much love. Have a lovely day. Stay safe. Take care. And God bless.